Welcome to BookHuddle. I'm your host, Karen Reeder with Readgab, and today we're joined by Sam Subity. This is so much fun, you guys. We're going to talk about just a genre smash of taking fantasy and historical fiction. It is just going to be an awesome episode. I am so excited about it. But first, I want to take a second and have Sam just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you besides being an author.
Hey guys, and thanks so much, Karen, for having me. This is awesome to be here with you. So I am a part-time author. I write like I think a lot of middle grade authors write in the evenings when I get some spare time. My son is a senior in high school. My daughter is an eighth grader, so we got all kinds of stuff going on with just being a parent. I'm sure you can relate.
Absolutely.
And during the day, I work as an analyst for a local food bank. So I'll just put a plug in here if you're looking to give a year-end donation. Food banks are just really in need of some special support right now. So I'll just put that plug in there too. But yeah, I kind of got into writing when I was when my kids were little. They just kind of inspired me. We read a ton of books, and I just kind of like was like, wow, I really want to do that. I want to try this. So that's how I got started with writing middle grade myself.
Okay, awesome. So, and we were just talking before about, is it your first one that is about Vikings?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Give us a quick elevator pitch on that one. I mean, the focus today will be Valor Wings, but give us a quick elevator pitch on your first. What was it called?
So I pitched it as Beowulf meets Percy Jackson. So Beowulf, of course, from 1,000 years ago, and then the Percy Jackson treatment with the modern day and Vikings and Norse mythology. So that's what Last Shadow Warrior is all about.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, so we've got Valor Wings just came out in September, right? Yeah, September.
Yeah,
All
right.
right. So we've got this really great historical fiction, World War II, which is it's just the best historical fiction to write about,
hmm
right? And
hmm
I was talking to my husband about it, and I was like, why is it? Is it just because the records that started being kept? And he's like, oh no, it's because there's such a clear distinction of good and evil.
Oh yeah, right.
And so it makes it an easy thing to write about when you have, because so many other wars or different things, and there are some but World War II is just so heavy there because there's this very clear line of good and evil with what's going on with Hitler. And so
Totally.
tell us the elevator pitch of Valor Wings. What do we got going on in this story?
Yeah, so Valor Wings is basically Dunkirk with dragons. So if you're familiar with the evacuation at Dunkirk at the very beginning of World War II. So I've got two kind of points of views. I got Iris, who is her brother is in the British military, and he gets deployed to France to help fight there. And then she gets word that her brother is trapped there, and they start having the evacuation, and they don't have enough boats or time to get everybody out. And so she decides, I'm going to take my best friend, who is a dragon named Galahad. We're going to fly into war and try to save my brother. So that's Iris. And on the other side, I've got Max, who's my guy from in Belgium. He's 13, and his school day gets interrupted when the Germans invade his country. And so he and his grandmother flee across Belgium into France. So you've got Iris coming down from Britain into France, and you've got Max moving across into France too, and they're gonna meet at Dunkirk, this like epic conclusion. So, like we were talking about before, it's a happy conclusion. It's actually good stuff happens to them. So,
Yes,
hope you
because
everyone check it
yeah,
out.
I was talking to him about this was a part where I wasn't familiar and I had not seen the Dunkirk movie. And
Yep.
so I'll tell my husband often about these books that I'm reading and he's like, "Oh, Dunkirk, that's not going to end well, dear." So because Dunkirk just gets completely demolished, right? And it's just
Oh yeah.
big German victories, right? In the beginning of the war, yes. Like
Right.
right when England's being pulled in. Is that the
Right.
appropriate time period?
Yeah,
Uh,
there's like a year of like what they call the phony war, where like nothing's happening, they're officially at
right,
war, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, kind of Germany starts like marching across the country and just like this blitzkrieg that nobody expected.
right,
Um,
right. All of a sudden
yeah,
they're just
totally
like,
surprised.
whoa. Yeah, the sheer power of it all, and England was not prepared. And
hmm
this is so incredible and so fun to like picture these dragons. So Galahad, is that how I say his name? Okay.
Right,
So we've got
exactly.
Galahad, and he is just. not the powerful dragon that you see behind Sam right there if you're
No,
watching.
that's right.
He is not the breathing fire, just terrifying dragon in the beginning. He doesn't even know how to fly, this
Right.
poor dragon. And this girl like befriends him and people make fun of her. And so there's some great themes of friendship and coming into your own where she's not like looked up to as being the dragon girl. This is a bad thing. Nobody really likes
Totally.
dragons, like a lot of people don't believe in them. And so then they have to come around and really work together and teach and also making these friends. So this is a really inspiring theme. So can you tell us about working this together? How did it start? Like clearly you said, all right, dragons and war, we're going to bring the two together.
Yeah.
Is that where it started?
It's a funny story. So actually, it originally started. My daughter is like this voracious reader, and she reads like everything, like every genre. And so she just happened to reading Wings of Fire and Anne of Green Gables at the same time. So I saw them on top of her nightstand. I was like, wow, that's so. I love mashups for one thing, which you
Yes.
can tell from this book. But so I started thinking, how can I put these two together? And so I started writing these stories because I like to write stories for my kids, just kind of amuse them. And
Yes.
it started out as what we called Anne of Green Dragons. Um,
Nice.
and so that's where the kind of genesis, it was about Anne's great great granddaughter who is in charge of this dragon squadron in World War II. And so that was the start of the story. And it's changed a little bit since then, but that was
Yeah.
kind of the genesis of where that came from. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And I have to say even though these are probably my two favorite genres to read. I love
Mhm.
middle grade and I fantasy is totally my jam. Love it so much. And then historical fiction I think is definitely my second. And so when I first saw it, I think in just one of our groups that Sam and I are in, this was my first exposure to Sam,
Mhm.
and I saw him, saying, "Does anybody want a copy?" And I was like, this is crazy. Like I can tell that war is going on in dragons, and I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. Like I was a little bit skeptical, but
That's awesome. I'm glad you
it
did.
came together in such a fantastic way. I just loved it,
Thank
and
you.
so
I
it's
thought kids would think it was weird,
yeah. But you know
dragons and World War II, but they're loving it. I mean, I get comments from the kids all the time, like emails and stuff. Man, this is so cool, and thank you for doing this. It's really cool. It's a really
yes.
good response. Yeah.
And do you know what? Embrace the weird. Like right now, for my
Mm.
four-year-old, weird is the ultimate insult. But she
Oh,
also
yeah.
gets kind of offended by the word silly. And I'm like, you know what? It's okay to be silly. It's okay to be weird.
Mhm.
So I'm trying
Yeah.
to like change the definition for her. And I think a lot of teens are doing that. Like it's weird is cool, right? It's
Hmm.
cool to have something just unique.
Yeah. Unique. Yeah, that's it. Right.
And so like embrace the weird. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. I love it.
And so when people ask me for comps for the book, like what are other books that they might like or compare it to, I can't really, I have trouble thinking of something because with its kind of merging plot lines, I always
Yes.
think of Alan Gratz and World War II, and then I've got the dragon angle with the kind of Wings of Fire thing.
Yes.
So those are kind of the two that I kind of compare it to most. But
Right,
it's
right. I
yeah,
kind of think Aragon with the war and dragons, but yeah, I
yeah.
think just having this modern feel to it and these big war machines and it's awesome. Well, and as I've researched, I wonder if it's more subgenre for adults. Because once I
Hmm.
got researching it, I did find, a genre smash, but I
Yeah.
don't think you see it as much for middle grade. And I hope we start seeing it more, that they start loving and embracing this because it's just so fun. And I don't think there are a ton of teenagers that feel the same way that these are their two favorite genres,
Hmm.
historical
Right.
fiction and fantasy. That's usually one or the other.
Right.
And
Right.
so what a great way to introduce them to the history side of it.
Totally.
And yeah, I think I could totally picture this. I used to teach sixth grade, and I could
Okay.
totally picture this being a great intro of, okay, we're got a unit coming up. I don't know what states do. Where I taught it was in Virginia, so we did not do World War II, but
Okay. Yeah.
somewhere around this age, they're doing World War II, just to
Yeah.
introduce them or encourage them for a summer read, just to get their toes wet into the
Hmm.
um, because there's some like, or even Echo has the World War II with a very light fantasy, right?
Mm, right. Right.
Pam Munoz Ryan, the one I'm talking about, that
Hmm.
just that magic flute. It's very light, and so, but we're we're not light here. We're dragons. We're going in.
Totally, yeah. And there's a school district, or the entire district is reading Valor Wings this fall, and they got like a whole reading program and games built around it. And the reason they picked it is because it's just what you said. It's got for something for the historical fiction fans. It's got the
Yeah.
fantasy fans and dragon fans. So it's kind of like something for everybody in there. And they just were like, yeah, we got to do this. So that's been super fun too.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping for more. I think that this definitely needs to just take the world by storm, right?
I
Because
hope so. Yeah, yeah. And
yeah,
so it starts at the beginning of World War II. So I've got the Battle of Britain. I got plenty of material to work
yes,
with here until. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
absolutely. And then of course your Jewish character that
Hmm.
is just fearful for his life and
Right.
fleeing
Yeah.
the situation, and that family's such a big thing, and but his family is kind of split up in this book. And so yeah, I love that.
Right.
But and then I think that this girl, this Iris, is where the kids can relate so much because
Hmm.
kids feel so much like they're the only one going through so many things. But then, if they really get talking, you'd realize that most kids feel alone or uncomfortable in some way.
Hmm. Right.
And so
Right.
I love that Iris just, that develops the plot that she doesn't have friends and that
Hmm.
it's her friendship with the dragon that later, we see in the background there's another dragon and another friend. And so we
Right.
won't go too much into that because it gives some
No
big
spoilers.
spoilers. But yeah, I think that is a valuable thing too, that we have the fantasy, the historical fiction, and then this important theme of friendship and family. Love it.
Yeah. And then of course ending with hope. I think that's the kind of key thing in middle grade, always ending with a note of hope, positivity.
Yeah.
And that's why I write middle grade really, because YA I think is kind of like dark sometimes, and middle grade you really kind of have that kind of key notes of hope I think that flow throughout the book. So yeah,
Yes. Well, yeah, and this is such a good springboard. Like, have you heard of Catherine Rundell's her newest Impossible Creatures?
I have. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but yeah.
So, Catherine Rundell wrote a little book about why you should read middle grade, and actually that was my
Uh-huh.
first exposure to her. And that
Okay.
was one of the big things is about hope. And so because that is such a springboard. Middle school, junior high, so such a weird time,
It
right?
is
That
right.
word, that
So,
weird. It's such a hard time.
yeah.
But to have a time, we all need some hope in our lives. And so I love that was important to you to have. Because, yeah, like we said, Dunkirk, it could have just ended awfully in your book, but
Oh man. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. They just get
uh,
it. Yeah.
to have it end on a note of hope because kids do they need that hope to build off of and see in their own lives of what they can do with a little hope. Love it.
Right. Yeah. And my high schooler, he still reads middle grade because of that reason. He doesn't like the kind of darkness and heaviness of YA. So
Well,
he's
and
staying
you
with
know
middle
what?
grade.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. I want to. My
Okay.
my son is in ninth grade now,
Okay.
and so he's in English honors, and his teacher was saying, explore some different young adult books, and I was like, well, yeah, yeah, that's great, but what's the difference between middle
Hmm.
grade and young adult when it really comes down to it? It may be theme. And
Hmm.
because I feel like middle grade's got plenty of language, it has plenty of depth, and it has
Hmm.
just sometimes also still some very heavy content. Like
Right. Yeah.
for the most part, I see Book Thief categorized as middle grade, and I would have thought that was.
Hmm.
And so there
It
are
starts with a murder, right? I think.
yeah, the is there
I'm
murder?
thinking of Graveyard Book. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, Graveyard Book. That yeah. Yeah. No,
Hmm.
Book Thief is also World War II.
Right. Okay.
This is a thick book. It
Yeah.
yeah, it's written from the point of view of death.
Right. That's
So
right. Okay.
yeah.
Been a while since I've read that one. But yeah, my editor was, we were talking about how long should the book be, and so that we got a lot of pressure from librarians and teachers now to kind of make the book shorter for middle grade. And so
Yes.
we're trying to keep it under 300 pages, and it ended up I think right around 270 or so.
Yeah, yep. I think
Um,
you're right. Yep, right around 270. And I think that's important to make it accessible for so many
right.
people because I'm like there really is plenty. I think there's no reason for kids as they become older teenagers and into high school to leave middle grade
Yeah.
because
Right.
it would be like telling somebody to stop reading graphic novels. Read what you love. There's so many good things in it.
Yep.
And there's still plenty of higher level thinking and theme and vocabulary And yeah, I think middle grade absolutely has a place for high schoolers and adults. Even if I didn't do what I do, I do what I do because I love kids.
Yeah,
So
totally. And what's one of my reviewers said the same thing. They read Valor Wings and like all the themes in here. I think that adults would even love this because it's really,
yeah,
that World War II Dunkirk, that all this stuff could appeal to adults as well. So I hope so.
yeah,
Um, yeah.
yeah. That's why there is the movie because it is. It's powerful and it gives you so much to think about. And then going back to ending on hope because I do
Mhm.
try. I said to my son, I was like, well, and I think when you end a book, I try to think, now what? What do I do with this? Like when I read,
Mhm.
um, oh, Ballad of Snakes and Songbirds. Yeah, is that the
Yep.
last
Yep.
Hunger Game prequel? So that was my big thing is now what? What would you do with this when you think about why do you become a villain? And da 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 da. Da. What do you do
Mhm.
with these thoughts at the end of a book? And that's one thing that I've started to encourage my 15-year-old is after you've just enjoyed a book and loved it, I know it's not the natural teenage thing to do, but as the teacher in me, it's just like, what do you do with that? What do why? Why did the author write this? And what do you do with that going forward?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why so I had a teacher friend designed a like teacher's guide that's on my website for the book.
Oh, good. I was
So
going
there's
to
kind of
ask.
like some
It's,
application stuff and kind of next thought questions and things like that.
yeah. I think the most important thing is first, have a love of reading. Like I referred to, graphic novels first, just love it. And then,
So you're right. Only so my son, when he reads a book, really just kind of he finishes it and he's just like lays it aside and he's on to the next book.
right.
Doesn't really kind of think about what he just read at all. So I love to kind of see the aspect in the teacher with teachers kind of help
Yes.
them to pull out the themes and what are you going to take away from
Yes.
this book, not just stick it on the shelf and move to the next one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what my son has to do in English honors. They like each have their own book that they get to read, but then they have to write a
Mhm.
little something at the end. So I love when he kind of has to do that,
Yeah.
because I don't want them to lose that love of reading because of finding the theme, but yeah,
Right.
when the opportunities arise, I love for them to have to pull it out.
And hopefully he's so my son when they did English all through high school like they pick like Romeo and Juliet tragedies
Yeah.
things fall apart it's all like super depressing stuff that
Yeah.
I would think kind of discourages kids from reading more but um it'd be nice if they picked out more
Yes,
hopeful like
things
middle
that
grade right
end on hope. Yes,
yeah
actually, my husband was like, "Well, you could tell his teacher that his mom just so happens to, have a good connection with books and authors, and could because he couldn't decide what to read in the spring, and he's like, maybe we'll just do Hunger Games." And I was like, "Or I've got a lot of great stuff that
I'll recommend it
actually
to
ends
you
in hope, but still has some really great higher level thinking and themes and."
totally that's awesome
That's so fun. So, well, and I have to tell you too, my son is probably just as excited or more excited than me when I get a book in the mail. Um, he'll be like, "Can I open it?" And even my 11-year-old, who's a reluctant reader, he likes to see, what came, even though
Mhm.
he's less likely to read it. But yeah, my
Yeah.
15-year-old can't wait to get his hands on it. And I'm like, if it's on the shelf, you take it, kid. If it's on my nightstand, I want to be able to find it at the end of the day again. But if it's on the shelf, you're welcome to read it. And yeah, he gets so excited to see when I open up and get a book in the mail, especially. There's something too about that he's like, ooh, advanced reader copy. What's coming out?
Sneak preview yeah that's cool that looks like you've got a great collection back there too you've got some great books for your kids to dive into so yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So fun. We've got a wide range in our household from 4-year-old to 15-year-old. So
Okay. Yeah.
perfect time for me. So, Sam, do you know what's coming next? Do you have something else in the works that you can tell us about?
Yeah. So my next book is I'm actually pivoting a little bit, working on a sports book. So in Washington, D.C., the Supreme Court building, there's a basketball court in the attic of the Supreme Court building. And I was reading about this, like, wow, that's really interesting. And so I was doing some more research, and I decided I'm going to write a story about a kid who starts a basketball league in the Supreme Court building. So I've kind of called the book Supreme Court. So basketball court, Supreme Court,
Oh,
just
cool, cool. I
has a
love that.
natural fit there. So that's
That
my next thing I'm working on, and hopefully I'll have that done next year. And maybe on shelves. I don't, it might be 2026, but it just takes a while to write. But yeah, that's
Right,
my
right.
next.
I know. Whenever I talk to an author, I know it's so far out. They'll be like, okay, well, what's coming out is this, but what I'm actually in the midst of
Right.
doing that you won't see for a couple of years. Yeah. That sounds like a lot of fun. I think it's the Capitol building that my husband was trying to get us a tour of.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
haven't been in the Supreme Court's attic. That's interesting to hear about because yeah, my
Yeah.
husband's really American history, so we get to DC a good amount and
Okay.
really cool. That sounds awesome. I can't wait to see that come together.
Thank you.
All right, so Sam, I just love to hear at the end of each interview, can you share with us one of your favorite works for children?
Yeah,
This,
since we've been talking about history so much, I just wanted to mention Matt Landis's National Archive Hunters. I know you've interviewed him too, and
yes,
he's
yes.
such a fun guy, and he's a teacher too, which adds, dimension to the book. And I just think it was so fun. So, and my son is really into history, so he just gobbled this up and is eagerly awaiting the next installment. The first one I think was Capital Chase. There it is.
Yep.
Um, and the next one I think is coming out next year. So we're just
Yeah.
excited
Yeah.
about that.
Oh, can't wait. Matt Landis, yeah, so much fun.
Yeah.
And just I think we talked about that too as ending on hope.
Okay.
Maybe not, but it is definitely a middle grade theme. Um, I love the history there. So that's cool. You've got definitely a love for history then in your life, huh? With what
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
you read and then your kids. So does your daughter like history as well? Or is it more just your
She's
son that's into it?
she'll pick up anything with a puppy on the front. Honestly,
On a
that's her thing.
puppy.
She
All
loves
right.
dogs,
All right.
so we'll
Oh,
read
get
everything.
her Operation Happy. Has she read that one?
Oh no, I have to check
Okay.
this out.
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely get her that one. So,
perfect.
yeah, well, that is so fun. Thank you, Sam, so much for taking the time.
Of
And
course.
we'll include below where you can find Sam and his works and check out Valor Wings for a fun genre smash. Love it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.